Hey guys, my name is Matimio, and welcome to another episode of Sunday Mailbox. This is a video series where you, the viewer, can submit your gaming or Battlefield-related questions, and then I will give my humble opinion on them. To get the formalities out of the way real quick, if you would like to submit your own question that can be featured in a future episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below, or by sending me a YouTube message. So the first question for today comes from SkyTech Gaming, who asks, was it really needed that DICE remove the M16A3 in Battlefield 4? I cannot understand why so many people cried about the M16A3 and wanted it to be removed from the game. There will always be a best gun. It was the M16A3 now, and it will be something else. So I don't think DICE removed it from the upcoming game because so many people complained about it in Battlefield 3. Like, I don't think that's the logic that DICE used. And if you still want to use the weapons model, there's going to be a semi-automatic version. So it's not like the M16 has been completely removed from the game. I think what it really came down to was they made the decision, do we want to have the fully automatic version or do we want the semi-automatic? And I don't know the thought process behind it. Maybe they just flipped a coin, but they just landed on the semi-auto version. And what's probably going to happen is that they'll just reintroduce it in a future DLC. I mean, DICE has already come out and said that they have a lot of plans for their future expansion packs to have just a ridiculous amount of new weapons and vehicles, and since they know that it was popular in Battlefield 3, that it will probably they'll probably bring it back. That's a hunch. I have no facts to base it on. Maybe we'll come back in the second Assault expansion pack, which is based around recreating Battlefield 3 maps in the Frostbite 3 engine. We'll just kind of have to wait, but in all honesty, I don't think this is really all that large of an issue. There's still going to be an M16 model in there. It's just not going to be fully automatic. The next question comes from Will, who says, I think that it is cool how now in Battlefield 4, when running and hit by a sniper, your person stumbles. Would you like to see a mechanic where if a high explosive, a tank round, C4, etc., detonated near you, you would lose balance and take some damage, and if it exploded even closer to you, that you'd be thrown a few yards and take more damage? I think that this would be a great thing for realism, for the realism aspect of the game. Would you like to see something like this? It's funny you say this because there's actually a system already in place, and we've kind of seen some examples of it, where if an explosion does happen next to your character, you do get knocked to the left or the right depending on where the explosion came from. And it's like you said, they're trying to kind of simulate a more realistic feel. It doesn't take the control completely away from you. It's just going to kind of knock you to the left or the right slightly, just to kind of make you feel a little bit more immersed in the battlefield. It's really cool, and I cannot wait to see how things work out, but I wouldn't want them to push it to the extent that you're describing, where if it happens like directly next to you, you get launched like 2 feet in the air and you fall onto the ground. Like, then I feel like it's taking a little bit too much control out of the player. And if that happened consistently and constantly, it would kind of get annoying. And while sure, you could say that it would be realistic. Like, if an explosion happened next to me in real life, I'd probably be down on the ground. I'd go into the fetal position and cry like a little girl. Like, I would be terrified. But in a video game, I wouldn't want that to happen. I want to have control over my character. I want to get back into the action, and while having some small immersion factors in there, like tweaking me to the left or right, I think is a nice touch. You don't want to go too overboard with it. Brian has the next question, and he says, DICE just released a only in Battlefield video where a player survived a jet ram. What are your thoughts on the idea of jet ramming become a strategic way at taking out vehicles? People complain enough about this problem as it is, but this may make it worse. Your thoughts? I have no idea why DICE did this. I mean, there are so many cool Battlefield moments that there was no need for them to ram a jet into a boat. I mean, sure, it's cool when it happens every once in a while, but when everyone is using their jet to ram into something, it gets extremely frustrating. You guys already know that it's kind of a problem in Battlefield 3, especially when you are in like a helicopter and you get rammed by a jet. It's an extremely frustrating experience. And the fact that I don't necessarily think that DICE is promoting it, like I don't think this was their intention, but it's definitely going to happen a lot more simply because like now thousands of people have seen this on their main channel and like, oh, I guess this is a valid tactic. Maybe I should try that out when I get my hands on Battlefield 4 or even right now in a Battlefield 3. I'm pretty disappointed that they did this. There are so many cool Battlefield moments that they could have come up with. We've seen it throughout Battlefield 3, and it couldn't have taken a lot of imagination for them to try to figure something out for Battlefield 4. The next question comes from Wesley, and it is, what if DICE implemented implemented a rock, paper, scissors mechanic for the new melee weapon, so that when a knife counter happens, a specific weapon will come out on top. A player would still need the skill to time a counter knife properly, but having the right weapon would give the player an advantage. This is actually kind of a cool idea, and the way that I could maybe see DICE implementing something like this is depending on what weapon you're using and the melee weapon that your enemy has in their hands, it could lengthen or decrease the period that they can press the counter knife button. Because currently the system that we have right now, whatever weapon you have in your hand, it doesn't really have any effect on the gameplay. I think it's purely cosmetic, so they're going to look a little bit different, and some of them also may have a couple of differences in their animation. Like the shank will probably stab a bunch of times, and then if you're using like the machete, you can go for like a hack and slash. But it doesn't have any game-changing effect. But not only that, from what we've heard from players that have had hands-on experience with Battlefield 4, they went to E3 or Gamescom, they've said that the counter knife window is way too large. It's like 2 seconds, and it gives you an eternity to press the button when someone tries to go for that frontal knife on you. And so some people have said to solve this problem, well, the easiest solution is just to reduce the window to maybe like a second, or maybe to put it on a different key every single time someone goes for a frontal knife on you. But your idea could also be a solution to this problem. I don't really think that DICE will implement a system like this. It would probably increase the development time a little bit more because they would have to balance out all the knives. But I love the fact that you're thinking outside the box. This is one of the more creative ideas that I've heard, so hats off to you. But that is about it for today's Sunday Mailbox, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Once again, if you would like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below or by sending me a YouTube message. But until tomorrow, guys, have a good one and take it easy.